Welcome into One-on-One live on Sublink Channel 112, live from Studio 318. I am Reed Spencer, joined by my co-host Logan Moser. As always, we have our final four teams. Bryce Harper is hitting very long home runs, but in a different uniform for the Phillies. The Yankees lose a series to the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, that's rough.
A lot of baseball stuff. Bogarts.
I can't wait to hear what Jason has to say about that.
We do have a bullpen segment, as always, on Monday, so they're going to get into everything going on in the baseball world, some NFL stuff going on as well, and a big weekend on the diamond for Oklahoma State softball and baseball. But we will start these first couple of segments with college basketball. So our final four: Michigan State, Texas Tech, Virginia, and Auburn. Just how everyone had it drawn up.
Exactly.
0.4% of brackets had this exact final four, which quite honestly seems like a decent number to me.
Yeah.
That people would come to this conclusion. But on Friday we had a couple teams in the Elite Eight, a couple teams that still had to play in the Elite Eight. But let's run back through them, and then we can get into this Final Four. So Duke and Virginia Tech. Duke, obviously, they're not in the Final Four. They lose to Michigan State. But in this game with Virginia Tech had a shot at the end of the game to at least send it into overtime.
Yeah.
That was the worst alley-oop. He just dropped the ball, Logan. The goal was here. He's flying past it, and he just drops it.
Yeah. I think he thought he was going to be a lot closer, and he was going to go for like a dunk, but then he realized, I guess, how far away he was, and he tried to lay it in. And like you said, he just kind of just dropped it. And, yeah, Duke survived another close one. And then ultimately they lost another close one. I think Duke's, besides the first round, where Duke's games decided by a combined 3 points in the last 3 rounds.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's March, as they say. But
well, I mean, that was kind of the discussion we'd had all along, that Duke, this phenomenal Duke team, well, they weren't going to win a national title.
No.
I mean, you couldn't convince me of that, because these weren't the type of Duke teams to do those things.
Right.
The Duke teams which you haven't seen them a lot in the past, but the more experienced Duke teams are the ones that have been able to go on those runs. But the career of Zion Williamson comes to an end, but we'll get to that Michigan State game here in a second.
He should have shut it down, Reed.
He should have shut it down. Number 2, Michigan State gets a 17-point win over LSU. Pretty dominant fashion. You didn't really miss much there. Now they're matched up with Texas Tech in the Final Four, but Gonzaga gets a win over Florida State, a team I told you was going to win by double digits. I had them in my Final Four. It got close at the end.
Yeah.
For it to be a 14-point victory, and it was 4-point with a minute and a half, 4-point game with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous way for that game to end. But Gonzaga was dominant down the stretch.
Right.
Texas Tech and Michigan. Logan, I know we're not jumping to the Final Four, but I'm going to read you the point totals that Texas Tech has allowed in this tournament. 69 to Gonzaga, one of the best offensive teams in the country.
Yeah.
44 to a really good, experienced Michigan team, 44 points. 58 to a good Buffalo team. 57 to Northern Kentucky. You could argue that their worst defensive performance was in the round of 64 to Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
They are a scary matchup. They get, as I said, that win over Michigan, and then they beat Gonzaga 75-69 to advance to the Final Four. A really good game on Friday night, Kentucky-Houston. Kentucky gets a 62-58 win. I would have loved for this to be a Final Four game.
Yeah.
But don't you hate when a game is tied with a minute left and the officials, now if there's a foul call, they have to make the foul call. I'm not saying that they don't. But when a call gets made and the last minute turns into free throws, 10-second plays, and you kind of get robbed of that last minute kind of Cinderella story, the March Madness, you just get robbed of it. And that's what happened in this game. It was tied, and then a couple foul calls, a turnover, and Kentucky gets a 4-point win.
Yeah, this, like you said, this could have been a Final Four game, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. It was a great game. P.J. Washington played a bit more than I thought.
Surprise, huh?
Yeah. They weren't completely honest with how much they were going to play him. I thought he played pretty well too.
Yes. If he wouldn't have been in that game, they lose that game.
Yeah, absolutely. 26 minutes. I think it was supposed to be 15 minutes or something like that. 4 for 7 from the line, 6 for 8 from the floor. I thought Kentucky was really good. Obviously, they weren't as good as Auburn, or not Auburn. Did they play Auburn in the?
Yeah, in the Elite Eight. Yeah.
So obviously, Auburn's just been shooting lights out. Auburn's been the team that's confused me the whole time, because I mean, I guess whenever they're hitting their shots, they're tough to beat, but they've been hitting shots throughout the whole tournament. Normally you can have a 3-point shooting like that for a couple of games, but for it to get them to a Final Four, that's crazy. PJ Washington had a great game against Auburn as well.
Logan, if New Mexico State could hit free throws, Auburn would have lost in the round of 64.
Yeah.
They should not. Well, I shouldn't say they shouldn't be here. They won the game, but a couple free throws away, they've been back on the plains in Alabama for a long, long time. I just want to go through the list of blue bloods that they've beaten in this. Not before they even got to the Final Four. They've beaten Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky. Those are the bluest of bloods in college basketball.
Yeah.
They get a huge 14-point win over Kansas. Then I was convinced that Roy Williams would expose him. I didn't think the shooting could last. I thought Bruce Pearl would get out coach. Bruce Pearl is a phenomenal coach. He is not Roy Williams. He is not Coach Calipari. He's not Coach K. But yet here he is in his first Final Four, Auburn's first Final Four, and they beat a 17-point win over North Carolina. I mean, it wasn't even close, and it really wasn't close majority of the game. Unfortunately, Chuma Okeke tears his ACL really in garbage time.
Yeah.
I mean, the game was still kind of close at that point, but he probably didn't have to be in there. He tears the ACL. Unfortunately for them, he was the leading rebounder for the Tigers, third leading scorer, but apparently they didn't miss him too much against Kentucky.
Yeah.
Obviously there. So we'll get to that Final Four, or that Elite Eight matchup. Purdue gets a 99-94 win over Tennessee. It goes into overtime. Purdue kind of dominates. Virginia gets a 53-49, barely survives number 12, Oregon. Now we go into overtime with Virginia and Purdue. Carson Edwards sets the three-point record. He is phenomenal in this tournament.
42 points against Virginia. That's hard to do.
They should have won this game.
They could have. They definitely could have.
They were up 4. How Purdue lost this game.
That's how you know you're hot, by the way. If you can bank it in from the wing, that's how you know. That's how you know you're just on fire. But like you said, they definitely were in this game. Obviously, only 5 points in overtime. I think this Virginia team is totally different than what they were last year. Like you said before the show started, they've been the end of every joke for the past calendar year. These guys all want to prove everyone wrong and win a national championship, and they're only 2 games away right now. I know it's looking ahead a little bit, but to only let Purdue score 5 points in overtime, that's really good. And you wish Carson Edwards could just, hop on Virginia or hop on Purdue, one of these other teams, so he can continue to play, because he's been the best player in this tournament. And besides, he's probably even been better than Zion, honestly, in this tournament run. So you hate to see a guy like that have a run like this and it end a little bit short. But yeah, that was a great game, Purdue Virginia. That was a great game.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Carson Edwards in the Final Four. Certainly, Barrett was in here earlier talking about individuals that deserve to be in there. He deserves to be in there. He should be on the all-tournament team. He was phenomenal. And I think it'll be interesting to see where his career goes, because sometimes you can be dominant in college basketball and it just doesn't translate.
I think right now he's projected to be a late first-round pick, early second-round pick. But, a run like this can boost a guy's draft stock. And, like you said, you don't know if it's going to translate to the NBA, but you hope so.
Well, the good thing about Carson Edwards is when you listen to him talk, you get the feeling that he's very mature. And, his thing was, hey, the record's great, but I just want to keep winning. That's all we want to do. We want to keep advancing. And unfortunately, they fall short against Virginia. But Virginia, they're the last standing 1 seed.
Right.
Out of the 3 number 1 seeds from the ACC conference, I was convinced that it wasn't going to be Virginia or Duke. It would be North Carolina that would advance to the Final Four.
Yep,
but as I said, they get blown out by Auburn, a 5 seed. So now let's go to our Final Four, or Elite 8 games, rather.
Okay.
Michigan State that gets a 1-point victory over Duke. Duke was, as you mentioned, the first 2 rounds before this combined 3 points victory. They fall 1 point short. Zion Williamson, the first freshman to score 100 points, I believe, in a long time. This was great for Duke. It was a great run.
Yeah.
We're going to get to what we make of this one and done rule and how effective really it is in college basketball. But what surprised you most about Michigan State being able to beat Duke? because I'll give you my 2 cents and then I'll let you get into it. The most surprising thing to me is the fact that Michigan State only beat them by 1 point.
You thought it would be a bigger...
I texted somebody yesterday, Michigan State will win this game by 17 points. Tom Izzo was a wizard yesterday, and it still was not enough to beat them by double digits. They get the win, and that's all that matters. But I thought Michigan State was a far better X's and O's team. Coach K is great, but Duke's talent was far and above better than Michigan State. A ton better.
Yeah.
And it almost got Duke to the Final Four. But I think Michigan State did enough X's and O's wise to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. I think Michigan State did a great job of making Duke kind of play to their weaknesses. They tried to shoot quite a bit of threes. They went 6 for 19. That was Michigan State. Duke went 7 for 21 from 3. R.J. Barrett went 3 for 6. Zion Williamson 2 for 6, and then Cam Reddish also 2 for 6. That's if the majority of that's all of their threes actually. All of their threes came from 3 guys. Their 3 best players, obviously. Like you said, Michigan State was such a better X's and O's team. Duke's talent was. There's Magic Johnson right there. He wishes he had a team as successful as Michigan State right now. But
maybe he could hire Tom Izzo.
Yeah, maybe. But Duke's. We'll talk. Like you said, we'll talk about it later with the one and done. But Duke was not built to win a national championship. They had no, Grayson Allen type guys. They had no seniors. They had no 3-point shooting. When you surround guys like Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett with other guys that can't shoot, that's not going to win you a national championship. They'll get you, obviously at least to the Elite Eight, and they were close to getting you to the Final Four. But ultimately, this wasn't a very well constructed team. They didn't have a lot of height. They didn't have a lot of shooting. They had pretty good playmakers with Trey Jones, R.J. Barrett, and Zion, but I think Michigan State did a great job. Whenever Zion was going to the basket, he saw at least 2 guys. It seemed like he was just going one-on-one. He still had a great game though, 24 points. But I thought Michigan State did a really great job of stopping Zion as best as they could, and making Duke try to shoot threes.
Yeah, I agree with you. They didn't. Trey Jones can shoot, and he was probably their best defender, honestly, in the way he played, and he wasn't that good of a defender yesterday. He was getting beat to the basket.
Cassius Winston kind of ate his lunch.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a great day for Duke, but as I said, all the X's and O's, and as well as Michigan State played, that's how talented Duke was without the shooting and all that. They still had the stars to get their way, but Tom Izzo and the Spartans advanced to the Final Four. Texas Tech and Gonzaga, another Elite Eight game that kind of shocked everyone.
Yeah.
A 75-69 win for the Red Raiders. They're advancing to their first ever Final Four in program history. They dominated the last couple minutes of this game.
Yeah.
And Reggie Miller kept saying, almost obnoxiously, but he was right in the broadcast, if they keep this game in the 60s, there's no way Gonzaga wins this game. There's no way.
Yeah.
And Achimura for Gonzaga was great at times, but the defense of Texas Tech is like glue. They are everywhere. They get the job done. And Chris Beard.
What a great job Chris Beard has done. 3 years? He's been at Texas Tech, and they're in the Final Four.
Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Now a Final Four.
So, yeah. Like, I agree with Reggie Miller. Like you said, it was a bit. He said it a bit ad nauseum. Texas Tech is so good defensively. The fact that they scored 75 points was kind of surprising to me. But, keeping Gonzaga, being able to keep Gonzaga under 70, I know it was only 1 point under 70, but that's really good. And you were probably right when you said their worst defensive performance was in the first round against Northern Kentucky. I think this team's really, really good. We'll see how they can handle Michigan State. I wonder how Chris Beard will handle planning for Tom Izzo, because I think Tom Izzo's a better coach. I think Chris Beard's a really, really, really great coach.
Well, 5 years ago he was coaching in Division II.
Right.
And Tom Izzo's 8-2 in the Elite Eight games.
That's what I'm. That's kind of my point. Like he's a bit outmatched in his experience. So, but even if they lose, I don't doubt that Chris Beard's going to take whatever he can from that game and make them better next year. Jarrett Culver has been outstanding. We were talking before the show started with Barrett about who deserves the MVP of the tournament. And without, I already forgot his name from Purdue, Carson Edwards.
Right.
There's really no one but maybe Jarrett Culver. So.
Well, there's still 2 games for somebody to,
to make a name.
And everyone else will forget about Carson Edwards, Zion Williamson if they can just.
I don't know if they'll forget
done.
about Zion.
Well, no.
People will probably still want Zion to win it.
It'll be interesting to see how people look on this Zion experiment in college basketball.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll go over Auburn, Kentucky, and get your initial Final Four predictions. So we're going to take a quick break. Be right back after this.
One-on-One is brought to you by Tinker Federal Credit Union. Visit facebook.com/TinkerFCU. While you're there for your family, we're there for you. Tinker Federal Credit Union. And OSU Communications. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered with parking tips and bus schedule information. We'll be right back.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back into One-on-One. You're seeing there
The underdogs.
The underdogs. We'll get into the women's Final Four. 2 teams that have advanced there still have a couple more Elite Eight games this evening. But we'll get into UConn here in just a second. Let's go back to this Auburn-Kentucky game.
Yeah.
Kentucky had won the first 2 matchups in SEC play. 2-0 against the Tigers this year. Won 82-80 and won a blowout. I believe it was 80-something to 56.
Wow.
Auburn gets that. I'm with you. You said it earlier. We didn't think their shooting would get them past North Carolina. It did, by 17 points. They lose their leading rebounder, their 3rd leading scorer, in Chuma Okeke, and they still go on to beat number 2 Kentucky in overtime. Bruce Pearl is a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. How shocked were you that he took down Coach Cal in the blue blood Kentucky Wildcats?
I was so shocked because, like you said, he's a good coach, not a great coach. But he is, I mean, I don't want to say, he's probably built the Houston Rockets of NCAA basketball. I don't want to say the Warriors, but they shoot a ton of threes, and they don't care if they miss a couple. Their thought process is, we'll either get an open layup, like right there, or we'll get a 3. That's a great out-of-bounds play, but He's done a great job. He's blown me away. I don't want to say they're the Cinderella of the tournament just because, they're a 5 seed. It's not like they were an 11 or a 12 seed and did this kind of run. But
I think you can make the argument based on the teams they've beat.
yeah.
Because I get Kansas wasn't an elite team this year, but anytime you beat Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky on your way to a Final Four, that's impressive.
They did beat the 4th seed, the 1 seed, and the 2 seed. So you can make an argument that they're kind of a Cinderella, but they just shoot the ball. They've shot the ball so well for this whole tournament. I want to know if you can find it real quick what they shot from 3 in their first 2 games against Kentucky, because I bet it was not
from 3 in their first 2 games against Kentucky. Well,
I bet it was not as good as what they shot.
One was an 80-53 loss. Okay, so it wasn't great. In that first matchup, Auburn shot 29% from 3-point versus Kentucky, and that was in their first loss against Kentucky. I said that was an 80-53 loss, so that one was not good. The other one was still a loss to Kentucky, but it was an 82-80 loss. So
a little bit closer.
Not as bad. They didn't play in the SEC tournament. They shot 40%.
Okay.
No, excuse me. They shot 43% in that game.
That's crazy because they only shot 30% from 3 in the win against Kentucky. And you would have thought, if they were going to beat Kentucky, they would have to shoot lights out. They outshot Kentucky from the free throw line, 18 for 24 for Auburn, 12 for 21 for Kentucky.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is not good. And
that was the difference.
Yeah. Jared Harper for Auburn went 11 for 11. So that was the difference in this game. It wasn't the 3-point shooting when I was watching the game, I was like, man, they're killing them from 3, but that just wasn't the case. Kentucky missed a lot of them at the line, and it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but I would have thought Kentucky would have been able to do it. So I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself into saying Auburn's a Cinderella, and I can't do it. Never mind. I can't do it. Auburn's not a Cinderella.
I'll go that. Well, Cinderella is when VCU is a 12 seed and makes it. But when you factor in, like I said, the Blue Bloods that they beat, they lose in the Sweet 16. They lose their leading rebounder, a leader on the team. And Bruce Pearl is Bruce Pearl. You've been through the things he's been through, and they've been a victim of this FBI stuff as well the past couple of years. With you. I don't think we can push the envelope on that Cinderella narrative, but it is a story, and it is an exciting one and one that makes you love March Madness.
Yeah.
I hope Auburn wins the national title.
Okay.
You're not supposed to have fandom in this stuff. Why not? Listen, I'm not going to go out and buy an Auburn shirt, but sports fans have rooting interest.
Right.
If you watch any baseball game, if you go to a random baseball game, you can say you don't care, you may not be upset, but you're going to find a team. You're going to find, this team's blue. I like blue. I don't like the yellow team. I'm going to cheer for this team.
Yeah.
Everyone finds something, gives themselves a reason to cheer for a team. The fact that Auburn's a 5 seed and that they beat Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky, Auburn is who I'm cheering for in this Final Four tournament.
Can they beat 2 1 seeds?
Why not?
Yeah.
They've beaten North Carolina and Kentucky. Why not? Probably not, but why not? Why should I tell Listen, if they get, Virginia's probably, Texas Tech and Virginia are the 2 best defensive teams in college basketball. But Logan, if Auburn shoots anywhere close to what they have in the past few games, Virginia is so screwed. Virginia cannot keep up with teams. I get in overtime they score 80 against Purdue.
Yeah.
Purdue, as great as Carson Edwards was, Auburn doesn't have Carson Edwards, but they can shoot better as a team from the floor. That could be a scary matchup for Virginia.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to find Virginia's opponent's 3-point percentage per game, but Virginia has the best scoring defense. They allow the fewest points in the country. Texas Tech is number 3. So, Auburn's going to have a tough go at it no matter who they end up playing. If they play Virginia and then Texas Tech or Virginia and then Michigan State, it's going to be hard, but I don't know. I kind of want Virginia to win the whole thing just because of what happened last year. But I can understand finding a reason for wanting Auburn to win the whole thing.
Well, if you're looking for a snooze fest, your best game would be Texas Tech, Virginia.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the best matchup, you're going to get Michigan State, Virginia. If you want the best, probably most exciting game, it'll be Michigan State, Auburn.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So, you have Michigan State and Texas Tech. Virginia mentioned, great defensive team. So was Texas Tech. How does that match up with Michigan State? Because you mentioned earlier, Tom Izzo's probably mixing up some stuff, and he's probably going to throw Chris Beard, phenomenal coach, nowhere close to the experience of Tom Izzo.
Right.
I think Tom Izzo will probably school him a little bit. But I also thought that Roy Williams would school Bruce Pearl. Didn't happen. I also thought Coach Cal would school Bruce Pearl. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
So who knows what's happening in this tournament. Initial reaction, Michigan State, Texas Tech, or Virginia, Auburn. Those two games, who's going to be playing for a national championship?
I think Michigan State and Virginia are going to be playing for a national championship. And I don't know, I feel boring picking the 2 and the 1 seed to make it to the national championship, but I just think those two are the best teams with the best coaches. I think Tom Izzo, I don't know if Tom Izzo is going to throw some crazy game plan out there, but Michigan State is going to stick to whatever game plan he makes. And, even if the game's close, if they have the ball with 2 seconds left and they have 1 play to win it, they're going to run whatever play he draws up. And if they're up 2 and Texas Tech has the ball with 1 play left, they're going to run whatever defense he calls up. And I know they're not going to mess it up. They're going to execute perfectly. I can't say that about Texas Tech. So that's my initial reaction for that one. And Virginia-Auburn, I found the stat. Virginia opponents shoot 27.8% from 3. If they can do that against Auburn,
yeah,
it won't even be close.
Well, at some point, whether they do it over the next 2 games or it happens next year, at some point, this is going to end for Auburn. They can't do this ever.
Right.
You look at that first matchup against Kentucky, they shoot 29%.
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to come crashing back to earth. Whether it's in Minneapolis in the Final Four game or it's in the national championship game or if, it's a blowout loss. So at some point, it's going to happen for Auburn. I think it does, but as I told you earlier, I'm Auburn.
Right.
I want Auburn to pull this thing off. You always want to see a 5 seed win. So give me Auburn over Virginia. I think Tom Izzo will get to Texas Tech. I think Auburn beats Michigan State. Realistically, probably not. I think you get a Michigan State-Virginia matchup kind of like you, and I think Michigan State will win that game. But if we're talking about the best story, what would be the coolest thing to see?
Yeah.
Give me Auburn.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because, coming into the season, who do you think would have thought Auburn would have even made the Final Four?
Not even Auburn fans.
Yes. No. Everyone thought it was going to be Duke and some other unfortunate school that was going to have to play Duke. So, I think having Auburn or, I don't know, one of these teams that has never won before. You know what I mean? A first-time national champion would be awesome. So Texas Tech, Auburn, Virginia's won a national championship, I think. But,
yeah, they've got great basketball history.
Yeah. So one of those 2 schools would obviously be the better story. We talked before the show, you're not a big fan of rooting for the Big 12 just because it's our conference.
Yeah, I don't buy into that conference allegiance stuff.
Yeah.
Who cares? Are we going to get money from
No.
it? Probably.
Oh, yeah,
they'll get probably a little kickback from it, but ultimately, who cares?
Right.
You want to see the best basketball game.
Yeah. And, Reed, don't you want to see all the Texas Tech fans that love their basketball program so much on Twitter celebrate?
Yeah, great stuff. So we'll jump over to the women's bracket really quickly. UConn advances to their 12th straight Final Four. 31 Marvel movies have come out since 2007, the last time Gino Auriemma and UConn didn't do it. I turned on this game, and it's like Reggie Miller talking about his score prediction.
Yeah.
If I heard it one time, I heard 1,000. Oh, they fought through the adversity, blah, 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 blah. They've made 12 straight Final Fours.
But, Reed, they were a 2 seed.
They're a 2 seed.
They haven't won since 2016, Reed. They're underdogs.
You will never convince me that Gino Auriemma and the UConn Huskies are ever underdogs because it just isn't real. If they lose at the buzzer. Okay?
Right.
It's not a real thing. UConn, 12 straight Final Fours. Just to give you kind of a... And it's never fair to compare men's basketball, women's basketball, because they're 2 completely different sports.
Yeah.
But Coach K's made 12 Final Fours in his entire career. Gino Auriemma, 12 straight.
Yeah.
That is incredible. If Coach K would have been able to win yesterday, he would have passed John Wooden for 13 Coach wouldn't finish his career with 12. But we've got Oregon and UConn. Notre Dame and Stanford play tonight as well as Baylor and Iowa. Baylor in the Big 12. Really quick reaction. Who advanced to the Final Four? Baylor, Iowa?
I have Baylor.
Baylor probably. Notre Dame, Stanford.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. I will go with Stanford just because you picked Notre Dame. So I think the UConn will play Baylor in the national championship, and I think Baylor will end up winning this thing.
I think UConn's going to win it.
Hot take there, Logan.
I know.
Hot take. Well, we'll get into this. There's a lot of one-and-done conversation, whether it works. Coach K doesn't think NCAA basketball is ready for it. We'll get into that Wednesday because it's time to get into the bullpen. A ton happened in baseball opening weekend. The Yanks might be in trouble. Time to press the panic button in the Bronx. But a lot of stuff going on. People are getting contracts. Great pitching going on. So we're going to make a call to the bullpen, take a quick break. Jason and Barrett will be right up after this.
One-on-One is brought to you by Oklahoma Christian University. Get your master's degree in accounting, business administration, theology, engineering, computer science, or cybersecurity from Oklahoma Christian University. Apply at oc.edu/grad. Oklahoma University is committed to offering the best graduate school experience we possibly can. Come learn and grow with us. And The Table. Stop by The Table on Thursdays at 8 p.m. to join their Bible study. Shoot Rachel an email at rachel@thetableosu.com for more information. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the bullpen here on One-on-One. I'm Jason Colicchio, joined by my co-host Barrett Guess. How are you today, Barrett?
Not too bad, not too bad.
That's good. You have a good good weekend?
Yeah, lots of basketball, lots of baseball. Both of our teams kind of struggled, though.
A little bit. I'm going to get right into that. If I can have the floor, Barrett, because I've got something to say here. You know, I didn't think there would be something that could strike out more than me at the bars, but apparently we have the Yankees. Because, look, Barrett, I've waited 5.5 months for this season. 5.5 months of absolute garbage being spewed to me by the Red Sox fans of this in Oklahoma, on Twitter, anywhere. What is going on? Seriously, what is going on? I've waited all this for what? To watch Gary Sanchez swing and miss and get frustrated and break his bat? To watch Greg Bird bat 143? I can't watch this guy go under 100 again. I can't do it. I was at the Jackie Robinson day. He batted .42. That's really nice and all, but I would like you to get some hits. I can't, do something. Send this guy down. Get him to an eye doctor. Do something with this guy, because I've had enough of him. And, it's just so frustrating there. I can't even think When I watch, Gary Sanchez, he's a great player. He got his first solo home run of the season yesterday. Good job. You struck out 3 times to add to that. We lost 7-5 yesterday, and my roommate James Haycraft, good guy. He watches the show. I might have put a hole in his wall yesterday from watching the game. I hope he doesn't watch today because then I'll be paying for some damages. And what's happening with our pitching? James Paxton, he did all right, but J.A. Happ, Stephen Tarpley, Jonathan Holder, where is Adam Ottavino? We paid this guy money. We paid this guy serious cash, Aaron Boone. You don't pitch the guy at all yesterday, and you only keep him out there for 1 batter the day before. Look, I'm embarrassed. I'm absolutely embarrassed. The Orioles were projected to be the 2nd worst team in Major League Baseball. But I'm going to throw some names out here since we're just watching the Yankees get absolutely destroyed. I'm so sick of that guy, too. Dwight Smith Jr., Renato Nunez, Rio Ruiz, Richie Martin, Jimmy Yacobonis. We lost to a Double-A team. What are you doing? I mean, in the name of George Steinbrenner, what is going on? This is not Yankees baseball. This is not how we play in New York. I am just absolutely frustrated right now, and I can only pray that they do something to turn this around against the Tigers today. Because if I see a 2 or 3 loss, if I see a sweep, I'm gonna send my head through the wall. And that's it for me on the Yankees. I wrote all that down, by the way, because I was so frustrated. It took me hours. I compiled all of this. My head is just a swimming pool of emotion and anger, and I just can't. I just had to release. And I'm glad I have the bullpen to release it with. How you doing, Barrett?
Well, I mean, I'm also frustrated. Obviously, I'm not that frustrated. But the Nationals, good God, their bullpen is so bad. I thought they fixed it up. Rosenthal is complete garbage. James, your roommate, he's a Cardinals fan, texts me and he goes, "Thanks for taking Rosenthal from us. We didn't want him." And I was like, I'm glad to take him. I don't want him anymore. He sucks. He's really bad so far. I mean, obviously, you look at last year, the Mets started like 12-1, and they finished 4th in the NL East. So a lot's going to change, but, I mean, the Nationals and the Yankees both looked kind of pathetic, except for Trey Turner. He was great, but for the Yankees, they're going to get better. But like you told me they struck out 24 times the past 2 games.
That's something I missed in my notes. 23 times. 14 of those times were yesterday, and all 14 times I took a shot.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I need a Red Bull. Let's move on. Well, let's actually stay. We'll talk about the Red Sox a little bit. The Red Sox.
Oh, man.
This is the only thing keeping my
Tampa
sanity.
Bay Rays.
Rays are the AL East leading
3-1.
3-1. They took 4. They took 3 out of 4 from the Astros.
Yeah.
I'm sweating, Barrett.
The whole AL East is just in when you have the Rays and the Orioles. I mean, I know it's the
first series, but Barrett,
150-something, 59 games left, but that's weird. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but.
Red Sox lose 3 of 4 from the Mariners, and this is how we are today. I'm a mess. I can't speak for Barrett, but I am just absolutely livid.
But the thing about the Red Sox, you look at their games, their offense hasn't been bad. They've scored 4, 7, 5, and 8. They've given up 12, 6, 6, and 10 runs. I mean, like we talked about, Chris Sale got absolutely lit up on opening day. And I guess the rest of their pitching doesn't want to show up either. So, I don't know. If they don't get that sorted out, it could be a long season. But they probably will. Defending World Series champions, I think they'll be fine. We'll see what happens with them. Mariners, I don't think they're that good. I think they're like
they're going to catch up to them.
Yeah. I don't think there's too much to worry about for any team so far. And the Phillies look good. The Phillies
That's
look really
where we're
good.
moving right to. The NL East The Phillies,
Yeah.
they sweep the defending NL East champions, the Atlanta Braves. You know, watching this series, I was really interested in it because, you know, obviously Harper and, well, it's kind of like the new look Phillies, you know. Everything seems to be fitting for this team right now, from the pitching to the hitting, even the fielding. You know, Phillies fans are probably jumping for joy after seeing all these pieces fit so well. McCutchen, Real Muto, and Harper all contributed spectacularly to this game. Right there, McCutchen's going Oppo Taco right there.
Yeah, I mean, they look legit. I mean, I don't think the Braves are that great.
Something's happened with the Braves.
I don't think they're going to have that good of a season. I could see them finishing behind the Mets. Probably not. I think it'll still be a battle for the NL East title, but I think the Braves are a little bit below the Phillies and Nationals.
Yeah.
The Nationals, if they just get their bullpen together, it's been the problem for since they've been around. They have had a terrible bullpen.
Yeah.
Last year, it finally got a little more stability with Sean Doolittle, and then so far this year, Rosenthal has been garbage. Doolittle did not pitch well last game. They're up 5. Well, first of all, they're up 5-5 in the 7th inning 2 games ago against the Mets. They give up 6 runs, and they're down 11-5. And then there's no. They score 4 runs in the 9th inning, but it doesn't matter because you got to score 6. So,
Yeah.
and then last game you're up 5-2 in the 8th. What do? You give up 3 runs, and then you have to win it with a walk-off home run from Trey Turner, who's having an excellent season. But
Good start.
if you're consistently blowing leads and letting teams get away from you after your starters come out, especially after Strasburg and after your top 3 pitchers pitch, 7, maybe even 8 innings, and you're still blowing leads and giving them such a large lead, what do you think is going to happen when you bring someone in like Hellickson or Joe Ross who gets chased in the 4th and 5th inning? There is no possible way that they can keep teams from scoring for 4 innings using their bullpen. So they have to figure something out, and they got to figure it out fast, because whatever's happening, it's just a constant issue with the Nationals, especially those Drew Storen days they were rough.
Yeah.
There's still a hole in my wall in my basement after he blew that game against the Cardinals. But it's pathetic to watch, honestly. I mean, their offense looks okay. Soto looks good. Robles looks good. Turner looks great. Rendon's Eaton went 3 for 5 yesterday. So, I mean, their offense looks pretty decent, but it's the rest of the team that has to pick it up. So
Yeah. Well, moving to a team that has it figured out, Christian Yelich is on pace for 162 home runs.
He is
4 home runs in his first 4 games. Now that's an unbelievable feat. He also hit the walk-off double to put the Brewers to beat the Cardinals, and now they're sitting at the top of the NL Central at 3-1.
Is there anyone in the National League that you think can catch him?
Who? Yelich?
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, it's not looking like it. Yelich had that commercial the MLB dropped before opening day where they had all like the superstars talking, boasting themselves up, and Yelich said, "I'm gonna hit 50 home runs this year." Well, it's looking very much like it. If there's the home run.
What happens more? Yelich with who gets more? Yelich in home runs or Trey Turner in steals?
Wow, that's actually, we should probably keep track of that. I'm going to say Yelich in home runs.
Both of them have 4.
Both of them are on pace for 50.
Both, yeah, more than 50.
More than 50 even.
Because Turner has 4 steals in 3 games and Yelich has 4 home runs in 4 games. So you're saying Yelich?
I'm going to say Yelich.
I'm going with Turner.
I can't even be mad with that though. That's it'll be close. Well, I think we're gonna have to go and cool off, Barrett. I think we're gonna have to give it back to Reed and Logan.
Another weekend, hopefully when we get back here next week.
Next week it's with happier, with smiles.
The Nationals and then the Yankees
Nothing
will
but
both
smiles. We'll both be holding hands and everything will be right in the world.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. We're gonna send it back to Reed and Logan after this quick commercial.
One-on-One is brought to you by Oklahoma Air National Guard. Contact Oklahoma Air National Guard at 800-GO-TO-ANG or visit their website at goang.com/OK for more information about how to get 100% college tuition. And Unitarian Universalist Church. If you're looking for a church home, visit Unitarian Universalist Church of Stillwater, located at 320 South Stallard Street. They offer an alternative spiritual path and welcome all races, religions, and beliefs. They are also LGBTQ friendly. Services every Sunday at 10:30. We'll be right back.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
I will literally
Achieve,
stand.
succeed.
I will go into the show standing.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back to One-on-One. Starters are back in. That was maybe the greatest bullpen segment we've ever had.
I think so.
A great weekend for Oklahoma State athletics on the diamond, but I want to jump back to the Jason Colicchio rant. I get Jason's frustration, but it's also 162 game season, so
It's April.
It is April. Well, it was March when all this stuff happened, so we got to take a deep breath. I get they're down and out in the AL East. It's tough out there in the streets of the AL East. I mean, the Red Sox and the Yankees are at the bottom of the conference. The Red Sox started out 1-3 to the Mariners. So, I mean, and the Rays are 3-1, Orioles are 2-1, and Toronto in the middle, as they always are, 2-2. So, even past the opening weekend, this is a bit of a shocker. I just want to throw a quick shout-out. The Royals were the last undefeated team left in the AL. They're now 2-1.
There you go.
So, they're leading the AL Central, so that's big-time stuff. The Mariners are 5-1 because they played a couple games in Japan, so they're like far and away.
Yeah.
But that's not going to last. The Mariners have the longest active streak in not making playoffs, so I imagine that will continue. The Braves are kind of a shocker. They're 0-3.
Yeah.
Their run differential is -12. That is not.
That's not a
great.
good way to win baseball games, Reed.
No, but it's not as bad as the Diamondbacks, who are 1-3. Their run differential is -20. The best.
They almost made the playoffs last year.
They did. The best run differential in baseball is the Mariners, +13, but they've also played a few more games than everyone. The next one would be +12 from the Phillies, who are 3-0. Bryce Harper's finally hitting home runs.
They were booing him.
They were. But it is also, and that guy's indoctrinated himself into Philadelphia. He's wearing the Philly Fanatic cleats. He's got the shirts. He's smart. He knows how to market. Give him credit for that. But love the rant. But the Yankees will be just fine at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The Yankees are going to make the playoffs. I fully expect them to at least compete in this division with the Red Sox. It will not always be this way. But a great rant. I'm here
All
for
time.
it. If that's what it takes for, I want that classic New Yorker and Jason Colicchio, and if that's what it takes, I hope the Yankees are bad all season. I'm here for it. I am here for it.
I don't know if we can do that to Jason just for his health. You know, I don't know if the Yankees can be bad all year, but you know.
Well, here's the good news.
They only have to be bad till school's out.
Well, that's what I was about to say. The Yankees could be terrible all summer, and he's going to sit on that rant for 3 months and come back the first week of school, and it'll be dynamite. Dynamite. But there is so much left here in baseball. As I mentioned, Bogaerts gets a $132 million extension. So we will jump now to Oklahoma State Athletics, still stay in the softball, baseball range. We'll start with the Cowgirls. Huge weekend for Oklahoma State. They've been dominant over Texas really the past few years. Gajewski's been great against the Longhorns, but they do get the series win. They walk off on Friday night. They get a 1-0 win. They dominate Saturday night. They run rule the Longhorns, get an 8-0 victory in 5 innings. Then they unfortunately lose yesterday 4-3, but only by 1 run. That's the first time they've shut out a top 10 opponent in back-to-back games since they did it against the number 7 Sooners in a doubleheader in 1994.
Wow.
So it has been a while since they've shut out a top 10 team in back-to-back games. They've got 50 home runs in 36 games, and Samantha Show hits 2 home runs. They hit home runs back-to-back. They're swapping the home run chain.
Yeah.
This team has got a lot of swagger, and they've had a lot of success. At times, they can be a little dangerous. They can go cold at the plate.
Yeah.
But the win over Texas this weekend lets you know they can compete in this conference.
Absolutely. You know, we said last Friday this is a big series. If they can win the series, we weren't expecting a sweep, but if they could have won the series like they did, that's awesome. Like number 9 or number 10, depending on where you look. Texas was no joke. They're one of the best teams in the conference, and I think now the Cowgirls have proven that they're also one of the best teams in this conference. You know, it's going to be awesome. They're great. Like you said, they tend to go a little cold from time to time, but they seem to have, you know, solved that problem as of late. I think obviously only the one run in that win on what was that, Friday, but before that you have to go back to the Baylor game before they scored even less than 3, I think. So really great streak for them so far. I think they're a really, really good team. Not World Series great, but you know, super regional.
Well, obviously it's going, you know, that school down south obviously still leading the conference, OU. Now they hold this tiebreaker over the Longhorns. If they can keep having success, it's going to be difficult because OU's not going to go lose a game to Baylor.
That's true.
OU's probably going to sweep Texas. But this matchup here coming up in a couple weeks between the Cowgirls and the Sooners is going to be a very, very exciting softball series.
I believe that's the last series of the season, right?
Right, and assuming they were able to have success in the Big 12 tournament, that would add 3 extra games there. So right now, obviously, they take on UT Arlington in a midweek game. They host Kansas. Then they go up to Ames, get a game with Tulsa, which Tulsa has been dominant over the Cowgirls in like the last decade. So they need a win over Tulsa to kind of change that narrative. Then they have another midweek game against North Texas, and then they go on to take on Texas Tech here in Stillwater. And then May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, there is Stillwater. Then they go to Norman on Saturday, and then they're back in Stillwater on Sunday. So that is one that everyone's got circled on the calendar. But Texas Tech has been a formidable team in the Big 12. Iowa State's awful, but last year
I don't care what state or what sport it is. I don't want to play Iowa State.
Never mess with them. But they've got some series. The series win over Texas was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They lost to UT Arlington last year here in Stillwater. They struggled against Iowa State last year because they should have swept them, but they let Iowa State get a win here in Stillwater. Can't sweep the series. If they can do that, get a win over Tulsa, there's still a big mountain to climb, but only 3 series left here in Big 12 play. This
has gone by super fast.
It has gone by super fast, and as I mentioned, if they have success in the Big 12 tournament, that would add 3 extra games. Then NCAA regionals, NCAA super regionals. If they can keep it up, maybe they can host a regional, maybe a super regional. I think they're a regional team for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a super regional team, but nonetheless, credit to Coach Gajewski and the Cowgirls. A huge series win over Texas, much like they did last year. So last year, also Cowboys get a sweep over TCU. They don't get a sweep this year, but they go down to Fort Worth. I wouldn't say they were dominant, but Logan, they get a series win the rubber match yesterday, 9-8. They lose game 1, 4-7. And to their credit, they fought back. They were kind of down 6-0 in that game. They worked their way back in. Then a 1-run win in game 2 and a 1-run win in game 3. They were close, but all that matters is that you have more runs than the other team at the end of the game.
That's right.
You can't nitpick it when you get a Big 12 series win.
Right, and yeah, like you said, winning the series is what's important. You know, you always want to sweep. You know, if in a perfect world they never lose a single game ever. They're the greatest run ever in sports, but you can't win them all. So I like the fact that they fought their way back from being down. Like you said, was it 0-6?
6-0, in game 1. So they fought a little back.
Yeah, I mean, you make it respectable somewhat, losing 7-4, and then you turn around and win the next 2. I think that's what's important. Like rebounding from a loss, and even not just rebounding, but like they kind of rebounded during the loss. Does that make sense? Like
you're right. Yeah,
they started to build some momentum, and they carried that through the next 2 games. So that, I'm going to be really interested to see when do they play OU again. I guess that's close to the end of the year. That's always the series that I kind of use to judge how they're going to do in the postseason. They've got the game coming up in Tulsa. This is in a couple of months, so I'm looking pretty far in the future. You go to Tulsa, OKC, and then Norman. Those 2 neutral site games are always very interesting to me. I think the Tulsa one is more of a home field for us, and then the OKC one's more of a home field for the school down south. But that's always who I judge OSU against in the Big 12 in terms of baseball and softball. So I won't know for sure how this team really is until they play those 2 games, or those 3 games, I guess. But they did really well this weekend.
Well, get a series win over number 19 TCU. They take on Central Arkansas on Tuesday here in Stillwater. Then they take on West Virginia here at Alley P this weekend. So big win for Cowboy baseball, big series win for Cowboy softball. Make sure you get out to support the Cowboys at Alley P tomorrow against Central Arkansas. We're going to take a 47-hour break. We will see you on Wednesday covering everything across the NBA, NFL, and, of course, Oklahoma State Athletics. Thank you for watching One-on-One. We'll see you on Wednesday.